Good morning. How you guys doing? It's our last Sunday of promise. What? Here's a little shout out for you guys though. We didn't cover all the promises. There's more than we got to. So even though this is our last Sunday of promises, there's so many more promises in the Bible. So I'm just going to encourage you to go on a little scavenger hunt for those as you go along about the rest of the year. But my name is Leslie, as Nathan said, Leslie Garcia. I'm the operations pastor here at Humanity Church. Welcome. I hope you guys are happy to be here this morning. Everybody, you guys are looking a little like, you guys good? All right, help me out. I want to start out this morning with reading the promise that I want to talk about. This promise I like particularly because it ends with a way of being that I think God longs for each and every one of us to experience. So as I'm reading it, just listen to that last bit really extra close. It's from Isaiah 40, 28 through 31. It says, "Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary." I remember that. And young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. I love that. This promise was given to the Israelites at a time where they were weary. They were faint. They were in exile in Babylon for several decades. They felt like, I like the word faint because I feel like that's a Southern thing. Like, I got the vapors. Am I the only one? Whatever. Anyway, but they were worn down by their circumstances. And just to give you some idea of how they felt, the line before this promise says, "My way is hidden from the Lord. My cause is disregarded by God." And there's a translation of the Bible called The Message. And in The Message, it says it in a way that I feel like we would relate with more. It says, "God has lost track of me. He doesn't care what happens to me." So that's the state of mind they were in when this promise came to them. They just felt like that God couldn't see them, that he was hidden from them. They were exhausted by their life. They were just run down, and they were wondering where God was and what happened to him. I don't know, does any of this sound familiar to you guys? Have you ever experienced anything like this where you're going through, whether it's a health crisis, a financial crisis, a broken relationship with friends or family, or personal failures or weakness, or any of those things where you've just felt general experience of pain and suffering and abandonment or anxiety and depression, and you're wondering, where is God for me? I don't know if you can think of a time in your life where you felt that way, where you just feel like you're tired. Have you ever just been tired? So out of touch with yourself that you don't know how to feel? Or I think the word faint, again, I said it's kind of weird. I think for me, the analogy is more like I just want to sit on the couch in like a very non-moving position and watch mindless TV for as long as humanly possible. And the more mindless, the better. Like, I'm not even going to tell you what I watched yesterday. Very mindless. But I know how to kill someone now. Anyway, it was mindless. Anyway, or like you just feel like maybe God is unaware of your circumstances. We go through these hardships and we become overwhelmed and discouraged and disconnected. And I feel like sometimes my phrase is, "I just can't." Have you ever felt that phrase? Like you're like, "I just can't. I just can't." I feel like that's what they were feeling. I noticed this in myself a few months ago. I was tired. If you would have asked me how I was, I would have said fine, and it would have been a lie. But I was so out of touch with myself that I didn't even know the answer to the question. So fine was easy enough. It's like you like it, I like it, we all accept it. But I knew I was tired. Not the kind of tired, though, from not sleeping, like the kind of tired that comes from within your guts and sort of just overwhelms you. I was not really enjoying anything. I was just on autopilot doing my life. I imagine this is what they felt like, but I don't know. I would go to work, come home. I would watch mindless TV for a long time. I even worked out not really making dinner by meal prepping one day a week, so everybody, I'd be like, you're on your own. If you asked me for help, I would feel like that was the hugest imposition you could ask me for, because I just didn't have the energy for it. I couldn't wrap my head around helping you because I didn't know how to help me. But I just know, have you guys ever feel this way? I was totally disconnected from God. I'm like, God, yeah, I mean, I know he's there. I just don't know, like, what room he's in, you know? But I don't know, like, if you've ever felt like a malaise. I feel like it was a malaise over my life. Tired for no real reason, lack of energy for no real reason, because I was sleeping. A weakness in my spirit. Just like also feeling alone even when I wasn't alone. I don't know if any of this is like, oh yeah, I resonate with that. But definitely God's far. And maybe he's not up for seeing me, or maybe he doesn't want to see me, or I don't know, right? Because I'm not in touch. But I think we all find ourselves at these moments in our lives, and in our despair, we wonder where God is, and if he can and will or wants to show up. And I think the question is, will he come for me? Maybe he'll come for her or him, but will he come for me? Because that's what I want to know. And we're tempted, I think, to give up, to shut down, to just succumb to it, because it's easier. It's easier. And I think in these moments, we need this promise. We need it because there's hope in it. There's hope in it for you and for me, for each one of us, that God is able to come through. This promise, there's hope in the Lord, but that's what the words say. But also, I think that means there's life in the Lord. There's something new, a new possibility, a new provision. There's strength in the Lord. And it tells us there's consistency in the Lord. There's consistency there. All the things that you and I struggle with, they're in God. He doesn't struggle with them. And when we find ourselves tired and weak, we get to the but. I hate that. We get to the but, B-U-T. Those who hope in the Lord, will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. It's a timeless reminder of the transformative power of faith, of the thing that God is inviting us into, and a promise that when we put our trust in God, we will find strength to persevere and to overcome. And it's a reminder of God's enduring nature and the love and care that he actually has for his people. So I read this verse and I'm like, hope in the Lord. That's awesome. How do I do that? How do I hope in the Lord? Some verses say wait on the Lord. That doesn't make it more clear for me, to be honest. How do we hope or wait on God? Maybe you feel like me, that's like, I don't know how to start that. I don't know how to start that process. I will just tell you, for me, when I was in that state, I had a day where I was like, I was able to work from home that day. I could work from home whenever, but that day I was like, I'm going to work from home. And since I'm going to work from home, I'm going to do things a little differently than I normally do. So I thought, well, I could feel this tightness in my body that was like, right? So I'm like, I'm just going to start the morning with like some stretching, some relaxing, some breathing. So I do that. And then Tim Concio had shared with me a meditation. So I was like, I'm already on the floor, so I'll do the meditation. I do the meditation. And then I just got up and I went to work like normal. Opened my computer, started doing the things I needed to do. And I finished my work a little bit early. And I had made also this commitment to myself that I'm not going to do any media, which is in case you didn't know, mindless TV is media. So I was like, well, I can't do that. So I didn't get on Facebook. I didn't get on Instagram. I didn't do anything else like that. But I was like, what would a person do to fill the time? It's amazing. I don't know. So I was like, well, I guess I'll open my Bible. So I open my Bible and I start reading it just anywhere. I don't even know where I was. And at first, it was weird. But I noticed that I felt lighter. Like my shoulders didn't feel like they were attacking me. As the day went on, I felt a little refreshed. I felt more connected to my own thoughts. which was an experience I hadn't been having. I felt energy, but more than anything, I felt a contentment that was new in that moment that I hadn't felt in a while. I think that oftentimes we want to make these small shifts in our life, and what we want is different than from what God is inviting us into. We're like, let me just do these little shifts, and God's desire is to realign the rhythm of our life, to redo it, to realign it, to be in constant relationship with Him, so that we can live by that characterized thing that He says to us, which is soaring and running. But we can't do it. It's like if you unplug from the electrical outlet, you're gonna die sooner or later. I was mopping the floor we have this new electrical mop thing. I like to clean, I'm weird, in the office, and Nathan charged it, and then I started cleaning and it died. He goes, it has to charge for 4 hours. I'm like, okay. So it's like that, right? You need more than a 30-minute charge sometimes to run. But there's a lot of different practices that you can do to connect to God. That there's not like a one little recipe and you do it, not like the chocolate chip recipe where you do it the same every single time and that works every time. There's different ways. And I think that we want like this magical, mystical download without any participation on our part. We just want God to be like, ka-chow, and we're like, yeah, I'm so connected. But it's not how He works. It's just not. I mean, we're waiting for God to invade our hearts and minds without ever opening them up. And it's just a failing strategy. So I think, we decide that He's lost track of us, but in fact, we've lost track of Him. And God is not coming where He's not invited. I think that's one of the consequences of free will. Like, we have free will, and if we don't invite, He's polite. He doesn't invade. And it's up to us to invite the connection, to invite it. Have any of you guys, I know you have, but if you've been through Redeeming Humanity, can you give me a hand raised? Okay, so do you remember the section on rhythm of life? This is it. I mean, if you haven't been to Redeeming Humanity, you need to go, because you're going to have to learn the rhythm of life. But because I'm not going to tell you what it is. No. No, but I mean, it's a constant rhythm of prayer and fasting and silence and solitude and reading scripture and meeting with God in intentional ways. I think about how my relationship with my husband would be if I never spoke to him. I mean, actually, I know how it would be because I tried it once. It was bad. That's for another time. But this promise is there to remind us that the Lord is everlasting. He is everlasting. He doesn't come and go. He's not inconsistent. He's created everything. He knows how it works. He never grows weary. That feeling you feel, He doesn't have it. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't get exhausted. He has unlimited power and unlimited understanding. That's something we just don't have. So it may be a little incomprehensible, but He does have it. He gives strength to the weary. This is verse 29. And He increases the power of the weak. He is capable and willing to provide for us. And the end of the promise, it's so connected to His character. It's so much His desire for each and every one of us that we would live in a way where we run and we soar and we just can be free in a way that humanly we are not able. But when connected to God, we are. We can run and not grow weary. We can walk and not be faint. And He wants to be the source of those things in our life. But we have to invite. We have to make time. I want to say this as I wrap up, is that God is available. He's available for you to put your hope in so that He can sustain you. He's available to sustain you. He wants to be there for you, but your part, my part, our part is to put our hope and faith in Him and create connection and create relationship in a way that He can meet us by fasting, prayer, all those things I mentioned. But the rest of it, that's His. It's his to do. It's not ours to do. And this morning, in this series, we've been breaking up into groups of 2 or 3. So we're going to break up into groups of 2 or 3, and we're going to talk about this question. It'll be up here. But I want you to consider this morning, where is a place or situation where you feel weary and out of strength that you would like God to give you strength in? And then I would like you to consider what's just one practice, just one thing you could engage in this week that would open up the road, open up the invitation for God to meet you in that thing. Okay, you guys, thanks.
All right, good morning. Let's bring our conversations to a close. Let's come back together. Go ahead and bring your conversations to a close. Well, if you were here on Friday night, you would know that unfortunately it was a little gusty with wind outside, so we had to pivot our outdoor movie night, turned into an indoor movie night. And let me tell you, this place was jam-packed with people. It was awesome. And so many families got to know about Humanity Church, and we got to serve so many families. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. So huge opportunity that we had. So thank you guys for coming, for serving. And our next one's October 25th. We will be out on the lawn. It's a great opportunity for that. Well, we're going to jump into our final conversation in this summer series. And I have loved this summer series. Every summer we as a communication team come up with some series that we get to do collectively with two speakers. And we've done everything from, I think last year we did zoo theology, where we went through animals, and we've done Proverbs, and we've done all kinds of different themes. But this year we really wanted to create a space where we could stand on something firm. And the promises of God are so powerful in that. I just want to remind you of some of the talks that we've had over the last few weeks when it comes to the promises of God. We've talked about that your past has been wiped clean, that God will sustain you, that you will have trouble, but He has overcome the world, that you will have life and you will have life to the fullest, that you are loved with an everlasting love, that if you put your trust in Him, He will make your paths straight, that He will be with you so there is no need to fear, that His Spirit will be with you wherever you go, that His power is made perfect in your weakness, that it is by grace that you have been saved by faith, and that nothing that you've done on your own, that God will fight for you. These are promises that we can rely on over and over, and they're just a small fraction of the promises that you and I have been given. They're not owed us, by the way. They're bestowed to us by God, saying, this is what you can count on me for. And here's why I think this conversation around promises is so critical for us. Not just for those of us who are followers of Jesus, but even for those of you who are exploring this faith conversation, is the reality is I am firmly convinced that the universe is actually held together by promise. That God speaks truth and things begin to form and create. And you even think about it at a relational level, every single relationship begins and forms and ends based on how we hold our word. Marriages, friendships, families, communities, they all begin with some sort of promise. Whether it's explicit, like, hey, I'm speaking out this promise to honor and cherish and obey, or that's just built into the cake when it comes to being a part of a community. And how we hold our word in those relationships, in those spaces, will determine the future that we step into. You are absolutely reliant on someone else's promise, whether you are aware of it or not, to hold your world together. In fact, you can measure the health of an individual, of a relationship, an organization, based on how they hold their word, based on how they keep their promises. Do they do what they say? Do we actually engage the things that we say we're going to be about, or do we not? Because here's the thing, is that we live in a world where promises are made and broken regularly. I mean, that's just kind of like a given. They're given and then they're released almost just as quickly sometime. Well, whether it's a promise to stay or to love or to pay or to be loyal or to get things done when they say they was going to get done, or for people to show up, or a promise to nurture or protect or honor. And when these promises are made and then broken, worlds begin to unravel. Relationships unravel, communities unravel, networks unravel, and things begin to fall apart when promises are not held together. Now look, there's not just promises that we make to other people and from other people, we also have promises to ourselves, do we not? How many promises do we make to ourselves that we break on a regular basis? How we're gonna treat our bodies, the goals that we have that we're gonna do, the ways that we're gonna invest our time, the plans that we have even for tomorrow. We make promises and then at times we break them to ourselves and then we wonder why we don't trust ourselves to create futures that we say we want. In fact, I've kind of found it interesting that when people actually keep their word to themselves, people are shocked. Like it's always interesting when someone comes up to someone and they're like, "You've lost weight. How have you done that?" They're like, "Well, I've been on a diet." "How long?" "Like 6 weeks." 6 weeks, right? You kept a promise to yourself for 6 whole weeks? That's crazy talk, right? We're shocked when we actually keep promises to ourselves and promises are kept to us. Hey, even that card that you filled out today with your intention, it's a promise that you made to yourself and to God. And that card that you have in your hand, it's actually not just a card. You know what it is? It's an invitation to a future. That's what it is. You have invited yourself and God into a specific future this month if you are willing to keep your promise. God's up for keeping his. The question is, are you wanting to step into that? When it's kept, beauty is released. And when it's not, our default future just happens. In other words, wherever you're at today, you're just gonna have more of that. And it's all reliant on how we relate to this thing called promise. And so I want to end with 2 promises that I believe we must hold on to if we're going to hold on to the rest of the promises. These 2 promises hold all of these promises together and they keep them intact. The first one is found in Hebrews 13:8, and it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And in Matthew 24:35, from Jesus' lips himself, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Now look, I'm a guy who loves options and I love change. One of my favorite restaurants is called True Foods in Pasadena. And what I love about the restaurant, it's a seasonal menu. Do you ever have restaurants that you go to that are seasonal, has a seasonal menu? What I love about True Foods is every quarter you can go back to the restaurant and it's a brand new menu. And they're like, this fall we have everything's butternut squash, and this summer everything's grass-fed beef, and this spring everything's strawberries, whatever it is. So every time you go, there's a new menu. You never know what you're gonna get. There's all kinds of new options. I love that because there's new, fresh, exciting things every single time. Now this is great when it comes to a restaurant. It's less exciting when it comes to a relationship. Do you have people in your life that when you're with them, the back of your head says, I wonder what version am I getting today? You know what I'm talking about? Like, how many of you have coworkers that you show up to the office and you're like, oh, let's see who we got today. We got the grumpy one today, right? We got the manic one today. We got the one who's super excited. We got the one who drank way too many Starbucks on the way here. You know, you just never know who you're gonna get. It's so unpredictable, isn't it? Wondering, what version of this person am I gonna get? For some of you, that might be your spouse, and you just wake up in the morning, you go, let's see who's over here today. This is exciting, right? And you wonder, what version am I getting in this moment? But it keeps you on edge, constantly wondering, how do I react? How do I engage? What can I count on? What can I actually rely on? But Jesus' declaration is so powerful when he says, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. I am not like a seasonal menu guy. Let's see what's coming up. Let's see how I feel today. Let's see what mood I'm in today. He is just reliant. You never ever have to guess or wonder what you're getting when you're connecting to Jesus. See, I know for some of you, you think that he is in constant flux. I know for some of you, you relate to God thinking, man, am I getting the angry one today? Am I getting the God who is so frustrated with me and so put up with me and that he is just done with me today? For some of you, you wake up and you think, man, I must be connected to the ambivalent God who seems to not care or seems to not worry about these things that I'm worried about or seems to not be preoccupied with the things that I'm preoccupied. For some of you, you wake up and you are connected to the God who shames. and who points his finger at your face and wags it in front of you and says, how dare you, you should have known better, you're such a screw up. For some of you, you find yourself with the manic God who's just constantly like, where am I, what am I up to, what are we gonna do today? But the beautiful thing is that we can know none of that is actually true. That Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So in a world that is in constant flux, I don't know if you've noticed this, but our news cycle changes by the hour right now. I mean, I get done with a Sunday gathering and I check CNN and then I check Fox News and I check everything because I just see everything and I'm like, oh wow, our world has dramatically changed in the last hour. Someone did something stupid, someone did something crazy, some politician said this, the economy did this. And so we are in a world of flux, in a world of economic flux, in a world of political unrest, in a world of wars and rumors of wars, in a world of complete relational breakdown at times, in a world filled with anxiety and hopelessness and depression, in a world of 1 million answered questions that will probably never be answered before we die. Jesus stands here before us and he declares, I never change. I don't care what's going on out there, I will never actually move. The God who provided and loved and cared for you yesterday is saying, that's who I will be for you today, and that's who I will be for you tomorrow. And so we can look at a book that is sometimes 2,000 years old and say, God made a promise 2,000 years ago to me, and I know that it is going to hold true today, and I also know that it is going to hold true tomorrow and the next month and the next year. No matter what's in flux, it will hold. They do not change. No matter what you do or don't do, no matter what other people do or don't do, it remains consistent. See, God's consistency is not dependent on your consistency or inconsistency. He is not dependent on you. He is just saying, I have kept my word. I have spoken it into the universe. I have threaded it into the fabric of the cosmos. And so there's nothing that you can do to actually transform this. I am the same. And this is why this series is so important. And my hope is that this would not just be a nice summer series, but that this would be a way of life. That we would find ourselves literally building a foundation of our lives on the promises of God that are immutable, that never change. See, when life gets unstable, when things get in flux and you find yourself not knowing which way is up or down or where to go or what you're supposed to do, the best thing that you can do in those moments is to go back to what is concrete and universal. The best thing in those moments is you can go, okay, the world seems like it's spinning around me. Everything seems like it's falling apart. But right now, in this moment, I need to pause and I need to ask myself, what is the thing that I can count on? What is the thing above everything else that I know will actually be true? See, when your health is in flux, when you find yourself, man, I have all kinds of crazy things going on with my body, the best thing that you can do is actually just go back to the basics. All right, I need to eat healthy, I need to move my body, I need to drink water, let's try that out and see what happens. When your finances are crazy, when you get to the end of the month and you have no money in your bank account, the best thing that you can do is go back to Economics 101. Let's put a budget together and stick by it and see what happens, right? See, the same thing actually happens for your spirit. When your spirit is in flux, when things are moving around you, when things seem chaotic, the best thing that you can actually do is go back to the promises that you know are concrete and stable and immutable and unchanging and say, great, we're gonna go there. I'm gonna go back to the fact that God is with me right now. I'm gonna go back to the fact that He wants abundant life for me right now. I'm gonna go back to the concrete reality that I should not fear or be dismayed because He is with me right now, and I can count on that. I don't know what else I can count on, but I can count on that. And I can hold on to that, and that will move you through whatever circumstances or situations that you find yourself in. And this is the beautiful invitation that God invites us to. We are entering into a season as a country that's gonna be a little chaotic over the next few months. I guarantee it. It's already happened. Have you noticed that? It seems like our politics are in flux, the economy's in flux, and everything is a little crazy. And so we are actually going to transition from this series into a new series next week that we are calling the Kingdom Manifesto. And we are looking at this talk that Jesus gives on a mountain. known as a mount. And he gives this, we'll just call it a sermon on a mount. And he essentially gives us this manifesto for what it looks like to live in a world of flux, to live in a world where everything is changing and transforming and everything is moving all around us. It's this playbook for living with the foundation of God's promises at our core. And there's something so powerful when we do that. When we moved out of our loft space on Thomas Street that we were in for several years, some of you may know, some of you may not know that in there we had a prayer closet that was under the stairs that people could use whenever they wanted, and we painted the walls gray and we put hundreds of Sharpie markers in there, and people could go write promises on the walls, prayers on the walls, verses on the walls, and it was cool moving out of there because there were all these promises and prayers and things that people had asked for from God that were all over the walls. But I remember the season when, those of you who are with us, when we lost the castle. If you don't know what that is, there was a big building that we had that was a big momentum builder for us, and it was a really safe space during COVID that we got to step into. And when we lost the castle and we had no idea where we were going, I spent hours in that closet. I mean, I think there were like fingernail marks on the wall in that closet. But as we were moving out, it was so amazing to look at the walls in my own handwriting of the promises of God that I had written in times where I thought, I don't know where we're going, and I don't know how we're gonna survive as a community. And we have looked everywhere and there are no possibilities, and we have tried and every door is getting shut on us. And even the option that we had was okay, it wasn't amazing, but it worked for the time being. And as we were moving out of that building into this space, it was a reminder that his promises stand, that he are immutable, and that even in times of chaos, when we just go back to the concrete, to the universal, to the reliable of God, it allows us to keep moving forward. And so as we transition from this series of talking about promises, we're gonna transition into this conversation around the kingdom manifesto of God, of what it looks like to be citizens of the kingdom of God and live life in a way that we know how to move forward in a way that brings hope and life and freedom. See, because there's a big difference between knowing a promise of God and knowing how to live in the kingdom and knowing the promises of God and knowing how to live in the kingdom. I know people all day long that say affirmations in the mirror until they are blue in the face, and then they walk out of their bathroom with the same anxiety and hopelessness and despair. I know people who give all kinds of constant reminders to themselves about how God is generous and how he is constantly pouring out resource and that we will never be left without, and then walk away and miss the opportunity to receive that resource and then to be generous in turn. I watch people as they say, yeah, I know I'm supposed to forgive. And then they walk away and allow the bitterness to eat them at their core. I know people who say, yeah, I know I ought to invest my time in places where we gather together, like on a Sunday or in a humanity group, and then other things get in the way. See, there's a big difference between knowing and knowing. And this is the invitation that Jesus invites us into. He says, look, I'll never change. So I'm inviting you to transform from knowing to knowing, that it lives in your bones, so that you can move forward with a level of confidence and power that he has given you in this kingdom. So I want you to join us over the next 9 weeks. I actually think this conversation that we're gonna be stepping into, this kingdom manifesto conversation, may be one of the most important conversations that we have all year, to discuss what it looks like to fully step into being citizens of the kingdom of God before we are Republicans or Democrats or any other philosophical idea in between. And so join us for this over the next 9 weeks. Bring people into this conversation. There are people looking for answers, looking for hope, looking for freedom. Next week, we're gonna be baptizing people, which is so awesome. If you haven't been, which is awesome. If you haven't been baptized, If you have not been baptized and you're like, I want to get baptized, just scan that QR code in front of you and we will put you on the list, or just come next week, we'll have clothes for you. But we're gonna enter into a season declaring the manifesto of the kingdom of God together. So here's what I want you to do in our final discussion for the summer. Get with 2 or 3 people at the most, and I'd like for you to discuss this. What would change in your life if you knew, not just knew, but if you knew, you walked around with the confidence that Jesus was the same yesterday, today, and forever? What would change? If you just knew, man, these promises are mine, I am a recipient of them, nothing changes them. What would change in your life if you knew them at your core? Have those conversations, and Lauren will dismiss us.